Just imagine this for a moment. You get in your car early in the morning. The sky is still dim. The coffee in your hand is still steaming. You plug in the charger, and in about the time it takes to finish that coffee, the battery is full. Not overnight. Not an hour. Minutes. Then you drive off. And you don't need to charge again even if you're going from Los Angeles all the way to Portland, Oregon, over 1,100 miles. One charge. Sounds like science fiction. That's exactly what most of the industry thought too, right up until Toyota started actually showing receipts. For years, solid-state batteries, the technology insiders call the holy grail of the EV world, were treated as a decade-away fantasy. Every year the timeline slipped further. 2030, then 2035. The industry had quietly stopped believing the hype. Then Toyota didn't just talk, they started building. The lithium cage toe understand why this matters. Rewind about 3 decades. In 1991, Sony introduced the first commercial lithium-ion battery, and it changed everything. Laptops, phones, cameras, and eventually, cars, Tesla, Nissan, GM all built empires on that same core chemistry. But lithium-ion has limits, and after 30 years, they're impossible to ignore. Energy density. Today's best lithium-ion packs store around 250 Wa/kg. To get 300, 400 miles of range, you need a battery pack weighing close to 1,000 pounds, which is why EVs are routinely 500 to 1,500 pounds heavier than equivalent gas cars. Charging speed. Even the best 350 kW DC fast chargers need 20 to 30 minutes to go from 20% to 80% under ideal conditions. Cold weather, an older battery, extreme heat, all of it makes that number worse. Compare that to a 3-minute gas station stop, and you understand exactly why range anxiety hasn't gone away. Safety. Lithium-ion uses a flammable liquid electrolyte. Damage it, puncture it, overheat it, and you risk thermal runaway, a fire that's nearly impossible to extinguish with water and can consume a vehicle in minutes. Raw materials. Cobalt mostly comes out of the Democratic Republic of Congo under mining conditions that have drawn serious human rights criticism. Lithium comes from South America and Australia. Nickel from Indonesia and Russia. It's a supply chain stretched across some of the most geopolitically unstable regions on Earth. That's the lithium cage the entire EV industry has lived inside for 30 years. Nobody wanted to stay locked in it forever. Nobody knew exactly how to get out. The quiet giant, here's the twist. While Tesla was stealing headlines with the Model S, Model 3, and Cybertruck, and GM and Ford were pouring tens of billions into new battery plants, Toyota looked, on the surface, like it was falling behind, still pushing hybrids, still saying pure EVs weren't ready yet. Analysts called it stubbornness. It wasn't stubbornness, it was camouflage. While the spotlight sat on Tesla, Toyota was quietly running one of the largest battery research programs in automotive history. Thousands of engineers, billions of dollars, one singular goal: not improve lithium-ion, replace it. The bet was solid state. The theory has been known for decades. Swap the flammable liquid electrolyte for a solid material, and you eliminate the fire risk while boosting energy density and charging speed. Simple in theory. Brutal in practice. The core problem is the interface, the contact point between the solid electrolyte and the electrodes. At the atomic level, materials expand and contract unevenly with heat, and after enough charge cycles, tiny cracks form and the battery degrades. Every company that's tried to commercialize solid-state batteries over the last 20 years has hit this exact wall. Toyota's answer, according to the company's own technical roadmap, a proprietary solid electrolyte material paired with a sulfide-based chemistry, engineered specifically to survive thousands of expansion and contraction cycles without breaking down. The numbers that shook the industry, according to Toyota's official roadmap, first outlined in 2023 and updated since. Here's what's actually on the table. An energy density in the range of 450 to 500 W/kg, nearly double what today's best lithium-ion packs achieve in the same size and weight. A driving range target of up to 1,200 kilometers, roughly 745 miles, on a single charge for the more advanced second-generation pack. Charging from 10% to 80% in around 5 minutes, thanks to an 800-volt high-voltage platform running at multiple times the speed of today's fastest commercial chargers. Cycle life exceeding 2,000 charge cycles, while retaining more than 90% of original capacity, with Toyota engineers separately claiming a next-generation liquid hybrid pack could theoretically last up to 40 years at 90% capacity. Radically longer than the roughly 10-year lifespan typical of today's EV batteries. And critically, no cobalt, no nickel dependency in the solid-state chemistry, cutting Toyota's exposure to some of the most volatile and ethically fraught mining supply chains on the planet. When the battery is punctured or crash-tested, it doesn't catch fire the way conventional lithium-ion packs can. That's not a marketing footnote. That's a fundamental change in the risk profile of an electric vehicle. This isn't a concept sketch anymore. Here's what makes this different from a decade of empty solid-state promises. Toyota has production approval. In October 2025, Toyota's solid-state battery technology officially received production approval in Japan. Mass production is targeted to begin in 2026, with the first vehicles expected to launch under the Lexus brand, arriving in 2027. Toyota isn't doing this alone. It's partnered with Idemitsu Kosan, a major Japanese oil refiner, which has already broken ground on a large-scale pilot plant specifically to manufacture the solid electrolyte material these batteries depend on. Expected to be complete by the end of 2027. Sumitomo Metal Mining is developing the durable cathode materials on the other end of the equation. Toyota holds over 1,000 patents in solid-state battery technology, one of the largest patent portfolios of any company on Earth in this space. The first vehicles will likely launch at a premium price point, under Lexus, where higher margins can absorb the early cost of the technology. But Toyota's stated goal is to bring the cost down to within roughly 1.5 times that of a conventional lithium-ion pack by 2030, opening the door to mainstream models after that. The catch, because there always is one let's be honest about what hasn't happened yet, because a story like this deserves the full picture, not just the exciting parts. These are Toyota's targets and internal test results, not yet independently verified by outside labs or confirmed under real-world, mixed driving conditions the way EPA or dual-teep testing works. Real-world range numbers for any EV typically land 15–25% below lab figures once you factor in highway speeds, cold weather, and air conditioning. Mass production is targeted for 2026, with vehicles arriving in 2027, 2028, that's still ahead of us, not behind us. Toyota has pushed solid-state timelines before. A prototype vehicle was actually demonstrated all the way back in 2020, and durability and manufacturing cost issues delayed things for years after that. Pricing for the first solid-state Lexus models hasn't been officially announced. Cost per kilowatt-hour for solid-state manufacturing is still meaningfully higher than liquid lithium-ion, and Toyota is explicit that costs will only fall gradually as production scales. None of this means the story is hype. It means the story is still being written in real time. Toyota isn't racing alone. This fight is happening on multiple fronts simultaneously. CATL, the world's largest battery maker, commanding well over a third of the global EV battery market, has its own solid-state program targeting commercialization around 2027, though still built on a nickel-cobalt-manganese cathode architecture that keeps it tied to the same volatile supply chains Toyota is trying to escape. Samsung ST is developing solid-state technology in partnership with Stellantis, still in smaller-scale testing. In the US, QuantumScape, heavily backed by Volkswagen and Microsoft, has announced breakthroughs repeatedly and missed timelines repeatedly. Its stock has fallen dramatically from its highs. Solid Power, working with BMW and Ford, remains in the pilot stage. Toyota's real advantage isn't a single miracle material, it's scale. This is a company that doesn't need to raise money through an IPO or answer to venture capital every quarter. Roughly $250 billion in annual revenue. 70 years of manufacturing experience. 2 decades of hybrid battery production, refined to the point of near-zero error. That kind of manufacturing foundation can't be built inside a startup's boardroom. Which is exactly why, after Toyota's announcements, the reaction out of Detroit and Wolfsburg wasn't a press release. It was silence, followed by closed-door meetings. If Toyota actually pulls this off for consumers, the math is simple. Eliminate range anxiety, eliminate long charging wait, eliminate the lingering fear of battery fires, and you eliminate the top 3 reasons, according to J.D. Power surveys, that Americans hesitate to buy an EV in the first place. The ripple effects go further. Toyota has signaled solid-state tech could eventually extend into home energy storage, pairing a rooftop solar setup with a dramatically more efficient battery to keep a home powered for days instead of hours during an outage. At industrial scale, lighter, safer, longer-lasting grid storage could finally solve renewable energy's biggest weakness: what happens when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing. There's also a slower-moving but massive geopolitical shift buried in here. If cobalt-free, nickel-free batteries scale globally, it puts real pressure on the current mining-dependent battery economy, and hands Japan, a country with almost no natural battery resources of its own, a new kind of leverage: technology itself. The bottom line: for 3 decades, EVs have been trapped in a lithium cage, good enough to start a revolution, not quite good enough to finish it. Toyota didn't necessarily break down that wall. They spent a decade quietly building a way around it: a new battery chemistry. A real production-approved roadmap, real manufacturing partners already breaking ground, and patents to defend the lead. Will the range numbers hold up outside a lab? Will the timeline slip again like it has before? Will the price come down fast enough to matter to anyone who isn't buying a Lexus? Those are real, open questions, and only the next 2 to 3 years will actually answer them. But one thing has already changed. The question is no longer, are solid-state batteries possible? The question now is, who gets there first? And right now, against a lot of early skepticism, Toyota looks like the one furthest down the road. So, are you buying the hype? Or are you waiting to see it on the road first? Drop your take in the comments.